Hello and welcome back to the House of Metamorphosis here with Mariana. And I am so excited about sharing this little topic with you today. Hair magic and how it's created. You know, when you have those moments with your clients and everything just flows, everything just aligns, everything, the client is relaxed, you're in a really creative mode. You're also in a very receptive mode where you're in a place where you can receive what it is that your clients are sharing with you and really translate that in a way that accesses presence. That's one of the key things that it accesses is presence between what you're receiving and also creating and cultivating resonance, which is what we spoke about last week, and how we create resonance, in the alchemy of hairdressing and this aspect. And this is another building step two out of the alchemy of hairdressing and into the magic of hair and how magic is created with the way that you work. Now, as creatives, an artist, like let's take an artist for an example here. An artist won't really, attempt a canvas unless they have an emotion, a feeling, a sensation, an image, a meaning, a purpose to actually pick up certain colors and address the canvas in the way that their emotional body, their imaginary body is propelling them to do so. So it's motivated. What I'm using here as an example is that it's motivated. It's completely motivated by you being in access to your inner landscape. And it also applies to you being in access to your client's inner landscape. And what's really important here, this is where magic happens. I mean, we talked about this in alchemy, and this is, again, the next step forward and how magic is created. And what happens in the translation, once the alchemy part is done, once you've dropped in, once you've received, once you've created resonance, once you've actually heard, and then the magic, that connection is developed and you really understand and see and feel and know your clients from the inside out. This is the first step to creating aligned magic with your clients. So magic happens, when I started off the conversation, it was like, those days where you sort of like you're in flow, you're happy, you're relaxed, you're creative, you've got a, you're having a really beautiful experience with your clients, and all your clients are in also a very similar mood, and your haircuts are amazing, your colors are just absolutely flawless, everything is in flow. And they're the moments that I really want to bring to your attention. What brings you into those moments? Like, what enables those moments for you to happen? And from my experience, those moments start from the morning. How you set your day up, how your day begins is how the rest of your day will propel forward. So we're going back into that and just like looking at and reflecting upon how you start your day to create a day of ease, flow, and magic with yourself, with your team, with your clients, with the whole experience for your day. So it's pleasurable and you come out of it feeling enlivened, not heavy and depressed and exhausted and overwhelmed and fatigued. You're actually enlivened. And if you reflect back, you probably realize that on those days where you had a magical day, you did feel enlivened at the end of the day. You felt magical yourself. And that's because you were cultivating and creating magic in your salon with your clients. And this is the alchemical process that I love about our work, which is really never spoken about. And it's because it's never really been brought to the front as to the magic that hairdressers really create with their clients in the active presence. So the first thing that I want to really focus on here is aligning your client's inner landscape and their outer landscape is a very imperative point. And that is understanding your clients, where they're at, what their story is today, and also where they're going. Like, what is their imagination at? Where is their imagination at today? And what are they envisaging for themselves, for their future? Like, what is it that they're moving towards? What kind of a life are they actually cultivating to create for themselves? Are they in a transitional period? Like, are they moving from one job to another? Or are they, being a single person to being pregnant and having a family? And like, where are they in their life as to how to really, as a professional, really construct your mind around how can I best serve my client? And this is, we're coming from a place of grace here, where we're looking at service in a graceful way. We're looking at service in really honoring the inner person, the inner soul of the person, the inner truth and authenticity of the person. And this is an element of grace, which I will speak to in another video. But right now we're looking at just how magic is cultivated coming out of the alchemy of hairdressing. And you're aligning, you're tuning in to, okay, so they're in a transitional period. They're moving out of one phase of their life into another phase of their life. What is it about them, the aspects of themselves that really need to be reflected so that they can feel empowered and on purpose and on path with themselves? And this is what we really do. It's like when we give a client a haircut, it's about our ability to recognize who it is that they are and reflect their identity, their authentic identity, not a version of themselves that we think they should have. Again, projection, last week's conversation, projection. We're really attuning into what is alive for them now. Now, this is a very important statement. What is alive for your clients right now? And that is a great question to ask your clients when you're sitting with them in consultation. What is alive for them right now? Who is it that they see themselves developing and transforming into? Where is it that they're going? How is it that they want to reflect themselves in the world that's really aligned with who they are? And of course, in Evolve, we dive really deeply into this, into how to bring these characteristics out to the surface with certain questions and inner landscape modalities and other exercises that really enable the inner landscape to become exposed for you and for them to have an experience of what's going on internally for them so that you can better reflect them. So the alignment of the inner and the outer landscape is that, that piece, when you know that you've nailed a haircut, when you've nailed a haircut with a client. And it's not because the haircut or the technique that you used was great or the color process you did was amazing. It's not just that. It's because you really understood your client in that day. You really engaged with your client on a personal level and you listened to them and saw them. You really saw them and were able to translate their authenticity through your work. And in those moments, when you've had those, I nailed that. That was so amazing. Those are the moments that you really created magic with your client. You would notice it because there'd be this sense of mysticism about it. There's a mystical experience that happens when you really align with your clients in that way. There's this like out of your hands, magical, mystical experience of creativity that flows through you. And all of a sudden, it's almost like your scissors become a wand. And I know I'm like getting a little esoteric here with it, but I have had many of these experiences where, I've dropped in so deeply with my clients that I've actually been able to translate them in a way that's mystical. and it's beyond even my imagination what I produced in that moment with them. Like, it was beyond what I could have imagined just with my linear self to create. It becomes magical. It becomes a mystical, magical experience. And beyond just having a client walk out feeling magical, feeling received, feeling, like, wow, that was the most magical experience I had. And I feel amazing, and I feel aligned, and I feel on purpose and on point. It's the leaving your space in that feeling. And I know that what we have been taught to do is to be performative and to sort of like perform to entertain our clients. But this experience doesn't need you to perform, and it doesn't need you to entertain. It is a silent mystical experience that goes on between you and your client, which doesn't take any energy from you. And this is why I'm bringing this conversation to the table today. Is I'm wanting to share ways for you to create magic and to create mystical experiences with your client without it taking away any of energy from you. It's about you being just present, being in silence, and allowing, after resonance occurs, allowing for the unimaginable to happen, which is allow the mystical to show up, allow the magical to show up. So, moving out of that and actually stepping into why we're doing this work and why magic is really important, I feel like there's a co-creation, and there's a co-creation that goes on between you and your client. And the co-creation is actually needed through really great professional conversation and communication skills. And the interpersonal skills at this point are, as you can see, when we're choosing to go down a mystical path with our work, the interpersonal becomes extremely personal and extremely necessary, because without this medium that we practice and we bring to life in our being, you can't really attune and align and co-create with your clients without understanding the process of communication and interpersonal connection. So there's this element of needing to expand your skill set and understand what it means to be a professional communicator in this point. And from that, you'll notice that your clients will start really opening up like a flower. I want to say opening up like a flower, because that's the image that I get, and that's the experience that I've had with my clients when we have aligned and I've dropped into that space with them. There is a flower, like they come in as a bud, closed and unknown, and they sort of leave you as an open blossomed flower. And this is the image that I want to leave you with today. Is like, how do you take a bud and how do you transform that bud through nurturing it and watering it and listening to it and seeing it and loving it for the authenticity that it is, so that it can slowly, gradually start to come into blossom. And we're at a time, we're in the season of spring. So this is really appropriate talking about, hair magic here today. We're in this time of spring, and spring is about the blossoming of, your clients and people, and them finally coming out of the thickness and the introvertedness of winter and coming into the springtime. And really aligning this work, Evolve, is really aligning our seasons with what we're doing and really starting to connect the environment, the seasons, and what's happening in your client's life, like looking at it holistically, the client experience holistically, so that you're creating from a holistic place. It's not linear. It's not, it's just not a three-dimensional experience. It's a multi-dimensional experience. You're moving through spring. People are wanting to step out into the world. There's more aliveness. The sun's come out. Flowers are blooming, and as flowers are blooming, so are your clients. So remembering the season that you're in as well, and bringing that into your work. And another factor that I love here about hair magic is like bringing spring into the salon, like having spring flowers in your salon, having spring plants in your salon, actually burning spring scents, like orange blossom and jasmine, and the smells of spring. What are the smells of spring for you? And have them burning in the background, so that what you're cultivating is this multi-dimensional experience that your clients are having, multi-sensory experience that your clients are having, which drops them into wanting to deepen in themselves, in their own mystic, in their own magic, and helps you. It really helps you align with what it is that you're going to create for them today, being the master craftsperson that you are, and creating something superior and unique to their authenticity. So in saying all of this today, I just want to take this minute and just say this is a very new experience for me, jumping on here on YouTube and sharing information and knowledge from my experience of 25 years of doing hairdressing as a mystic, as a therapist, and as a hairdresser, but cultivating and uniting, the dual worlds of, the interpersonal, the human experience, along with the magic of hair and transformation. And, cultivated an experience and a process that really speaks to the cultivation of all of these aspects that we deal with in the human experience. So being here and sharing this information, if it aligns with you and you feel that this information would align with anybody that you know in the industry, that they're searching for something different. This is the different. This is the new. Please share, like, and subscribe to this channel so that it can grow and more people can reach this information. It can reach them. And also, if you're interested in Evolve or mentoring or my initiation program, the master program, or any other skills and tools that can help you along this journey of transformation and evolving your career as a transformational agent, please go to houseofmetamorphosis.au and check out what we've got. So going back to the summary of today's conversation, and that summary is like, how do you cultivate magic with your clients? First, go back and listen to The Alchemy of Hairdressing, because that's got all the ingredients that you need. And the other videos before that have got all the steps leading up to this. And if you've watched those, being present with your client, listening to your client, having a morning that actually helps you be in this state of presence with your clients when you begin your work for the day, being able to receive and cultivate resonance with your client, and being able to allow space and room for your client to unpack what is going on for them right now, their transitions, their imaginings, their visualizations about who they are and who they'd like to be, and allowing that to be all unpacked. And then taking that information and really tuning in with your client and sort of stepping into this field of magic, allowing all of that to absorb, and that could happen when you're actually at the basin with your client, where you're massaging their head and you're doing some breath work with them at the basin, and you're just allowing everything that's been spoken to start circulating in your field. Just let it drop, be silent, and allow the magic to start cultivating in your field. And then give yourself a moment and breathe into what was said and what images you're getting, what direction you're getting for them on how to translate what they shared with you. And then sit back down and share with them after the hair wash and breath work, and share with them the images that have come up for you, and then take the image from there together and refine that image together from that place. So, and then create, and then step out of the way and then create magic with your client, that and then allow space and room for magic to show up between you and your client and what you're doing in that moment. I've had so many of those experiences, and it's the reason why I'm still here and I'm still talking about it, because they honestly were some of the most incredible experiences I've ever had with clients in my life. And I really experienced magic, and real resonance and real mystic experiences that have no words. They have no words. They're just memories and experiences and sensations that you have in your body and your client has in their body that they will never, ever, ever forget. And that's what they're walking out of your salon with, this mystical, magical experience that they will never, ever, ever forget, and will be spoken about for days, weeks, months, years from there. I had this magical experience with this hairdresser once, and we just dropped into the, into the zone, and I can't explain it. There are no words for it, but it was the best haircut I ever had. They're those moments that I'm talking about right there. I hope that this conversation was informative and magical and inspiring for you. And I'm really enjoying having these conversations here on this medium. And I hope you are too. And if you are, please send me a message about how you're feeling about this. If you're watching them, I'd love to hear from you. Love to actually open up those threads of communication. And after that, I will see you again next week for another topic about the mystery and the magic of hairdressing and what we do as transformational professionals. I'll speak to you all soon. Have a great week. Bye.